oh my goodness, this is what I've been waiting to talk about for a long time, and we're going to talk about it now. So you all know that I love to talk about the manosphere, and the black manosphere in particular. And why do I like to talk about them? I'll tell you why I like to talk about them. I like to talk about them because the idiocracy of the black manosphere, the political idiocracy of the black manosphere, is horrific and getting worse. And I found a video that I want to show you to be indicative of. Now, as you all know, I always give a disclaimer. A number of these content creators, I respect their work, I respect their thoughts, I respect their opinions and their data and their anecdotes when it comes to a number of other issues. Some of those issues are, marriage and relationships and the role of the black male, the role of the black woman, and how our culture is tearing us apart, is low level on some at some aspects, are not our best selves, and they're good on self-improvement and understanding the nature of our community and understanding the nature of economics and building yourself up. Part of the people in this, Kevin Samuels is probably the biggest, most famous example, the most successful example of this. But there are a number of other content creators that I listen to and follow because they have a lot of good things to say. The unfortunate part about them is that they have nothing of consequence to say about politics, and they're all wading in to give their take. Usually a takedown of Kamala Harris, and usually either an uplifting of Donald Trump, or by not saying support that person, by tearing down a Kamala Harris or the Democratic Party, they are in the same vein pushing up Donald Trump because there's only two that you could vote for, right? Here's the example of it. Poor Man's Podcast, somebody I think you should all go to and subscribe to his channel. He has a lot to say. I think it's good stuff. But he put forth a video about Anton Daniels, another content creator I listen to. But again, it's totally lost about politics, knows nothing about government, knows nothing about policies, and have adopted wholesale the Republican talking points that you can find on Fox News, or you can Google yourself, or you see on a lot of right-wing, alt-right, more importantly, and more emphatically, on YouTube and other places. And so this is a round table that Anton Daniels participates in with other black content creators. They talk about issues of the day. And the headline of Poor Man's Podcast is deceiving on itself. Democrats shocked that black voters are starting to turn on Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has tripled the support she has amongst African Americans since she's become the nominee of the Democratic Party. And as such, that's why she's leading Donald Trump on all the polls. But this, again, is how the headline grabs you in and sucks you in and make you look at it. And maybe that's what his intent was. But I'm just going to go back to what something that Anton Daniels said in terms of his discussion with these women. There was a comment made by a woman on the panel that she was going to vote for Kamala Harris because she was black. And she wanted a black woman to see what she could do. Now, look, I think that's a dumb statement too, right? But Anton Daniels' comeback on her is all dripping with MAGA and with Fox News and News Nation and Newsmax written all over it. Just listen to what he says here.
With some of the most powerful leaders in the world, she failed at the border, in which we have an estimation of 15 to 20 million people illegally into this country.
There are not 15 to 20 million people illegally coming into this country. That is a talking point that Donald Trump uses. Sometimes it's 10 million, sometimes it's 50 million, sometimes it's 20 million, right? There is no documentation anywhere for that. And Anton Daniels doesn't even refer to any documentation for that. He's just talking. And look how everybody's just watching him talk as if he's some kind of expert on this or has some kind of knowledge or some kind of reference for where he's getting these stats. It gets worse.
That is literally overtaking and bankrupting Chicago to the tune of over $400 million per year. And
now he blames illegal immigration for bankrupting Chicago because they have a $400 million deficit. You could just use ChatGPT to find out why they have a deficit, and it has nothing to do with legal immigration.
They're in a deficit. Oakland is going out of business. San Francisco, ditto. California, $65 billion deficit. New York, they're literally cutting trash, in which they are the rattiest, dirtiest city, and they've taken up resources as far as free healthcare, free hotels to the tune of $600 a day. They're literally taking over your schools. Your taxpayer dollars are going to fund the migrant crisis.
And look at people that's shaking their heads like, yeah.
We have a failing economy every single day.
Now, how is it a failing economy when 16 million jobs have been created, when unemployment is at its lowest, when black employment is at its highest, not under Donald Trump, under this administration? These are all facts that you can actually check. And he run these things off just like, any commentator would on Fox News, like Laura Ingraham, like any of these folks, without any sources, primary or secondary, to back up what they're saying. And the people here on the panel are so not involved in politics, so far removed from policy, that they accept it as truth from God Almighty because Anton Daniels is the one saying it.
I see people getting on the internet talking about $30 an hour is the new minimum wage because inflation is fucking out of control. At one point, it was at almost 10%, depending on what city that you in. She has no policy, no record to stand on.
Again, Kamala Harris, now, he was right. Inflation did get to 9.1%. We just talked about that. That's factual. Now, that's the first fact he actually said. But then he said she has no record. There's nothing she's ever done. Before we end this night, we're going to go over the record of Harris and Biden so that you all can see for yourself exactly what the record is. But it's very easy to say she's never done anything. She ain't do nothing. What is her record? Hold tight.
One of the biggest things that she did in her career was lock up more black men than ever before. But we sitting here and vote her in office on identity politics.
Again, not true. Offers no sources. No facts to back that up. That has been something that we understood and knocked down 4 years ago. That Kamala Harris somehow locked everybody up and all those kind of things. Now it's interesting that he says that as a talking point that they use against in the black community, Republicans are put in the black community to give talking points to conservatives like Anton Daniels, like Poor Man's Podcast, to try to get black people to turn on her. But then the white folks say that she's soft on crime. You see, the conservatives who talk to other white conservatives, they say that she was soft on crime. White conservatives trying to get black conservatives will say, well, she locked brothers up. That's what she did. Do you see how the game is being played here? Let's continue.
The very person that she was under as far as the president of the United States of America, she called him racist during a debate.
Again, not true. You can look this up yourself. She did not call Joe Biden a racist. She questioned his support for the 1994 crime bill, which I always tell people, Donald Trump supported too. He just wasn't in office. As I always point out, Democrats supported too, and Republicans. Everybody in 1994 was signing on to the crime bill, and Republicans were the main ones pushing it. Democrats joined them. Congressional Black Caucus did join them, but everybody supported it, including Donald Trump.
Right. Which shows you how fake she is. And the only thing that we can stand on from a policy perspective is whether or not she's black and she's a woman. We did that during the Obama administration, and he didn't do anything for black people.
Here we go again. Obama never did anything for black people. The list is long, and I'm happy to go on a platform right here and talk about the long list of things that he did for black people, things he did for every people, right? But here's what Anton Daniels and people like him from this Black Manosphere swear. And I love Roland Martin because he knocks these arguments down emphatically. There is no president that can legally put forth legislation signed to it, pass legislation and sign into law, any kind of bill or legislation that supports and only helps one ethnic group. This does not happen. There are things that you can pass that help people that are impoverished, and if African Americans and Latinos and other ethnic groups are disproportionately represented in that class in terms of poverty or low wage job opportunities. An overall bill that attacks poverty is going to disproportionately help African Americans, disproportionately help Latinos, disproportionately help any other ethnic group that may be suffering that. But there's never going to be a black bill or a Latino bill. And Anton Daniels, the Republican, knows that. And if you're not getting it with the Democrats, what in the hell makes you think you're going to get it with Donald Trump and the Republicans that you didn't get in the first 4 years? And that's what's interesting to me, is that they don't point to any race-based legislation that was created just for black people under Donald Trump, or just for Latinos under Donald Trump, or just for anybody under any president, period. It's ludicrous.
As a matter of fact, y'all complain because the only person that he did, or the only group of people that he really stood for, is the alphabet community. And that's his landmark thing that he's still standing on today. So
he's a good representation of what you would consider to be a black Republican or a black conservative. Oh, yeah, let's focus on the policy. Focus on the policy. Don't vote for a person because of their skin color. And once you get past that, look into what they actually stand for and what they've done and what their track record is.
And that's the problem, because they will say that's what you're supposed to do, but people like Poor Man's Podcast don't even Google the record. Don't even Google what they've done. Don't even Google their preparation. They make broadside statements over and over and over again and expect people, because people like their content, respect how they speak about other things that they do have knowledge about, but think that that means that they have knowledge about everything. These fools are bootlicking supplicants to the right, and more emphatically to the alt-right. And that is a disservice to black people, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Right now, I'm not seeing nothing on Kamala's side. I seen a video recently, and maybe I can get the image of it. It was a woman who said she went up to a counter, and there was a receipt left on the counter. It was a black woman talking about this. I believe it was in New York or Chicago, one of those major cities where they're letting in a lot of immigrants. And maybe I can get the picture of the receipt, but there was a receipt left on the counter, and on the receipt, it said this person had $4,000 worth of access to cash. This was an
Now, listen how stupid that sounds, right? Immigrants cannot qualify for welfare if they're not a citizen. This woman put his evidence of this is that he has this thing here. You don't know who it belongs to. You don't know what that is a balance of. It's an EBT cash balance. You don't know that's an immigrant's cash balance. There's not a name on there. There's not anything on there. That's somebody with a receipt. That could be anything. But this is his proof, not data and statistics. That he doesn't quote anything that says how many, what's it alleged that how many illegal immigrants are getting government programs, because they can't. They don't qualify. They can't even apply. There's a background check for all this kind of stuff. And it's a rhetorical talking point that the right uses to scare black people. The problem I have is that this black man and people like Anton Daniels and other people like Melanie King are pushing a narrative that's not helping anybody black. You're not helping anybody by putting out this foolishness without any source of data, evidence, research. The very same things they tell black people they need to do about every other subject, they don't even do with a Google search about politics and policies. This is idiocracy.
immigrant that left a receipt after buying some groceries, right? $4,000 worth of cash and like $12,000 worth of EBT. $12,000 worth of EBT. Getting access to that. Ain't paid a single dollar in taxes. Getting access to that kind of treatment in our country.
Okay, that is just asinine and stupid. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. But here's this fool, Anton, and I call him a fool in this respect because here he is appearing on Fox News with none other than who I mentioned earlier, Laura Ingraham. Let's hear about Laura. Oh, here he's clean cut. Look at this, guys. No hat turn on backwards
YouTuber
here.
YouTuber and content creator. Anton, let's start with you. You just went viral for an exchange that you had with a Kamala supporter. Let's watch.
Would you vote for?
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, we've seen this before.
I'm going to just be real.
Laura Ingraham.
I think I forwarded that to 20 of my friends. That was such an awesome takedown. But tell us about that, because I saw some of the other participants like nervously drinking their Coke or whatever they were drinking. But tell us about your interactions with people who happen to be African American who instinctively seem to go for Kamala because it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. I think it's unfortunate because the majority of my interactions is me being looked at as the bad guy because
You are the bad
ultimately
guy.
they think that I'm supposed to be on code, even though I know and they know that it's not in our best interest, in my family's best interest, in the country's best interest. And when we continue to play identity politics, the thing that they usually refer to is our previous history in electing people in office that ultimately even they will concede that they didn't have our best interests at heart. And so when I'm in
So now I love this discussion, and I'm going to end it with this because I want to go too long on this. I love when black conservatives talk about the Democratic Party and these black leaders in office. They don't do anything for us. They don't provide anything for us. Why are we voting for them? Why do we keep voting for them? Probably because the same reason why white rural conservatives support Republicans in places like Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas and Louisiana and South Carolina and Tennessee, where they have no access to good jobs, horrible education systems, the worst quality of life of any state in the nation, all reside in the South, lowest test scores for education, poor infrastructure, poor health care, an opioid crisis that is exploding, and no good roads. I was in Mississippi for a conference, and I was on the main road to this resort area I was going to were abandoned tractors all along the highway, housing on the way, 10 roofs, on shacks. And these weren't black people living in these things. These were white folks. And so the question is always funny to me when I hear black folks talk about what have the black elected officials done for our community. What has the Democratic Party done for black people? Well, I ask the same question. What has the Republican Party done for white rural voters? What has the Republican Party and conservative Republican elected officials done for them for generations? It's the ineptitude of looking at it through a certain prism and not holding other people accountable in the same way you want to hold our leaders accountable.
interacting with these people, often at times it's very difficult for them to step outside of being on code in order to do the thing that's even in their best interest. So I'm often looked at as a bad guy, but in reality, they know I'm telling the truth, and that's why it's so difficult for them to be able to convey and then debate what it is that I'm telling them, because they already know what the truth is.
The debate with him never happens because the people he engages with don't have the wherewithal, the tools, the knowledge, the understanding of politics and policy to debate you.
They're not unfamiliar with what it is that they experienced over the last 3.5 years. They're suffering. They don't have jobs.
There's 16 million new jobs in America because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
They have lower wages. They can't pay their
The wages are the same under Joe Biden as they've been under Donald Trump.
bills. And so when they experience this, but it's very difficult for us as a community to then break away from the popular thing to do because they don't want to be a part of the cool kids club anymore.
Yeah, I'd say too, a big issue in the African American community, especially amongst black men, is there isn't enough political awareness. Like, there's a lot of dudes, like for black men specifically.
And he's one of them. Sorry, Poor Man's Podcast. Sorry, Anton Daniels. You're out of your depth, and you need to go back to talking about what you actually know about. Stay out of grown folks' business, and stay out of conversations that you have no background, no knowledge, and you really have the gall to not even do a simple Google search to find out what the facts actually are. We're going to keep coming back to these kind of videos because these people are doing a disservice to our community and they're doing a disservice to Americans, and they know the poison they're pushing. This is Curious Formula, and you're here on Wednesday Night Live. One thing for me. Well, I want you to do three things for me. I want you to subscribe, like, and comment below. Be a member of this channel. Hit the notification bell and to let you know when we go live. We go live every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.